All right, good evening, everyone. Welcome to Marquette University Law School. My name is Mary Trujano. I am the director of the Andrews Center for Restorative Justice here at the law school. It's wonderful to see familiar faces and some new ones as well. Welcome. First, I'd like to introduce Becca Donaldson in the back. Wave. She joined the Andrews Center for Restorative Justice in August as our assistant director, and she's also an assistant clinical professor of law, so she's teaching here at the law school, but also is supporting and helping in the good work of the Andrews Center for Restorative Justice, and she's joined our team, and I'm very happy to have her. Thank you, Becca. So before we begin, let me tell you a little bit more about restorative justice and share our story behind the Andrews Center. 20 years ago, retired Justice Janine Geske, over here. We can clap for her when she started Marquette Law School's Restorative Justice Initiative. Her trailblazing efforts laid the foundation for what we continue to do today here. A vision of justice focused on healing, accountability, and transformation. And thank you to the incredible generosity of Louis Andrew, a Marquette Law School grad, and his wife, Sue Andrew, a Marquette undergraduate in speech. I know she's there. She is. They're pointing at her. Thanks to them, the Restorative Justice Initiative became an endowed and permanent center in 2021. The Andrews commitment to restorative justice enables us to deepen our restorative justice work and to begin to address some of society's most pressing issues, such as gun violence, trauma, and family violence, through a restorative justice lens. Restorative justice is a powerful means of addressing harm by bringing people together, often in circles, facilitating open dialogue and generous listening, and building empathy. Rooted in indigenous traditions and adapted for modern justice systems, restorative justice circles offer a space for those impacted by harm to share their pain and work toward healing. The process honors the dignity of each participant, giving them a voice and fostering connection so that they feel less alone. Tonight, and thank you all for being here tonight, and tomorrow, and I hope many of you are coming back tomorrow, the Andrews Center will address the devastating impact of gun violence on our community through the lens of collaboration, restoration, hope, and healing. In partnership with healthcare professionals, conflict resolution experts, and advocates, we are hosting the Union of Restorative Justice, Healthcare, and Street Outreach, a healing approach to preventing gun violence. So this brings us to tonight's film, Mending Our Wounds, a restorative justice circle for gun violence healing and prevention. The film highlights the stories of survivors, healers, first responders, and violence interrupters who are on the front lines of preventing gun violence in our community. Among the voices you'll hear from are healthcare providers from Frederick and the Medical College of Wisconsin, registered nurse Dr. Colleen Trevino, registered nurse Rebecca Laskowitz, and Chief Medical Officer and Trauma Surgeon Dr. Libby Schrader. All three have dedicated their lives to addressing the physical and emotional wounds caused by gun violence. You'll also hear from James and Sharquil, 414 Life violence interrupters, as well as Joshua Parrish, an Assistant Chief of the Milwaukee Fire Department who works every day to reduce community violence. Survivors like Lisa and RJ, and restorative justice practitioner Tavion will share how they are turning pain into power through sharing their stories, advocacy in our community, and healing. As you watch, I hope each and every one of you are inspired to think about the role you play in building safer, more compassionate communities where gun violence is no longer a common event. After the film, we will hold a talkback session to reflect on what we've seen in the film today and discuss how we can collectively work towards solutions and support those already in the field doing this really hard work day in and day out. So thank you for being here tonight and for your commitment to restorative justice. A few things to note. In the film, you will hear references to 414 Life and VR Fast. And as you noticed, we also have printed materials out front that explain some of those terms and other things that you'll hear tomorrow from some of the guest speakers and panel presenters. But VR Fast, for today's purpose, is Violence Response Public Health and Safety Team, which is still a collaboration of key community stakeholders assembled to address the high level of gun violence within concentrated areas of Milwaukee. I was part of that effort when I was Chief Judge of Milwaukee County and Chair of the Community Justice Council. The focus of VR Fast is a multi-sector collaborative approach to gun violence with a focus on public health and public safety. You'll hear more about that tomorrow. 414 Life is Milwaukee's community and hospital-based violence intervention program. 414 Life focuses on reducing the burden that gun violence places on individuals and families in Milwaukee County by treating gun violence as a disease. A key element to the success of the 414 Life program is engaging community members as violence interrupters in neighborhoods across Milwaukee and in the hospital setting. One last thing, please know that the stories shared in this film can be unsettling as they graphically depict gun violence. Please take care of yourself. No one will be upset if you must leave and take a break. We also have a quiet space outside of this room available in room 185 near the entrance where you came in and just before you get to the cafe. So it's out that door here and pretty much straight across. Someone will be able to show you that place if you need it. With that, we will now show you our film. Okay, so thank you for holding space for the stories that you just heard during the film today. I think it was not just a collection of stories, although that's what we were trying to get across to you, but it was more of a reflection of not only deep pain and struggles with gun violence, but the last go-round, it was about solutions from bringing neighborhoods together to bigger projects based in the hospital, to community. Yeah, you don't want that on there. Sorry. I don't think any one of those I would want to watch. Okay. I should have gave you a minute. Am I on? All right, that's good? Thanks, Patrick. Everyone, thank Patrick. Each person up there shared their story, and they did so with the hope that bearing their wounds and frustrations with gun violence might help us to begin to truly understand what's happening in our communities and the profound toll that gun violence exacts on our communities. But they also wanted to bring us stories of hope, and I wanted to bring them to you through this film today as well, because we always hear the stories of gun violence and the horrors of it, but we seldom hear about what's going on in our communities that lead to solutions. And most of you, I think, are registered to come tomorrow as well. You will hear more about those solutions, some of them mentioned here today, like 414 Life and VR Fast and others. And so I'm encouraging you to come tomorrow. If you're not signed up, we have room. Certainly some of you will be here. We'll also show again just a short clip tomorrow for those who have not been here tonight to see the film, but only the first 30 minutes to tee us up for the afternoon, for the morning and afternoon sessions tomorrow. So I think we're ready for the Talkback, and we have, I think, 7 of the film participants here with us today, so I'm going to invite them to come to the forefront here and take a chair, except Sharquil, he's agreed to stand down because we don't have an extra chair for him, or you can stand with me, Sharquil. But why don't we have our film stars come up here today, your stars. So they're going to share microphones, but I have several questions for them, but I'd rather that the audience participate in asking them questions that you might thought about when you saw as the circle unfolded. And so we're going to open it up to audience questions. If there's not, then of course I will step in and do that, but I wanted to give you that opportunity as well. And share the microphones. Anybody so far? Got one over there? Oh, I can grab a microphone too. Got one up here. It's gone. Becca will be running around with the microphone today. Those might, but we'll use the microphones.
Thank you for this opportunity. My question is for the hospital personnel and the people who, I missed the very beginning of your film, but the question is for people who work within a program or the hospital. Do any of you participate within your system in critical incident stress management and debriefing for yourselves? And what role, if any, does the chaplain play in your hospitals to help you with this?
So to a certain extent, yes. In our system, we use more of a peer support model. So are you trained as a peer supporter? I'm trained as a peer supporter. You're trained as a peer supporter. So we have like hundreds of peer supporters throughout the hospital at all levels, everything from people who answer phone at the front desk to transporters to surgeons to hospital executives, nurses, respiratory therapists. It runs the gamut. And so when part of our safety reporting process, even built into it, is there's a button when you do a safety report that says, do you think peer support is needed? And that will activate the peer support team. We also do a lot of, on the trauma side of things, we present every death every morning, and there are a group of us that then kind of figure out who was engaged on the emergency room and the surgery side. We make sure that the med students get spoken to or pulled in, or at least checked in on, with the understanding that a lot of times it's the first time they've seen someone die. Same thing happens in the ICUs, everywhere in the hospital. And it can be, we as peer supporters can be formally activated, but it can also be just, hey, you're not looking like you're having the greatest day. How are you doing? And part of the great thing about the program, the way it's built, is we are all considered tier 2 supporters, with the idea that everyone's a tier 1 supporter. And then we go through it's about 2 hours of modules, and then an hour of in-person training where we run through scenarios. And then there's a tier 3 level, which is Terry Drew and Cassini, for example, trauma psychology. So actual trained psychologists, psychiatrists who are engaged with the understanding that part of the fear when you approach a conversation with somebody that you're worried about is, oh gosh, what if I quickly get out of my realm and then I don't feel comfortable and I don't know what to do? And so built into this program is that list of, if you're worried about somebody's acute safety, if you think they need kind of more long-term follow-up, we have the ability to very quickly activate that level of therapy. The chaplains, a lot of the chaplains are peer supporters, and there are times where they are very helpful for our families. There are times when they're very helpful for certain staff, but there is that peer piece of things that you're having a conversation with somebody who understands the experience from your position, your point of view, which I think is really invaluable in a lot of ways, and normalizing those feelings and those emotions that can happen afterwards.
Should bring your phone.
First off, I just want to thank you all for doing the work that it is that you guys do in the community and in life in general. I wanted to know, as a concerned community member and a justice involved individual, when you follow up with the people that you help, um, what is that healing? I mean, are there other avenues available for them to help them in their healing, to like therapeutically? Maybe some people get into arts, music, or some people just like to throw themselves into work or throw themselves into learning something new. What are your thoughts on that, and what does that look like? And I have a statement when you respond as well. James, you can answer this one.
I don't answer this, right?
You can start.
I can start it.
Yeah, you can start it.
I think it's like, like we got a little lingo on 4-1. It be our pull-ups. So, can y'all hear me good? It be like our pull-up game. Like after we give like a lot of the families like the resources, and then it's like, hey, like we'll double back. Say it's like 90 days or whatever the time. It might be even a month, or we be in the community, so we see you a lot, but we don't have. I don't know. I don't know what my boss said, Reggie. I don't know what the day is, man. On when you supposed to follow up, I can't hit it per se, but we always in the community and like our target areas, and we see the kids or just the families like in the city. So, what it looks like, we usually like check back in with them, check the temperature with them, see where they at. A lot of them go on to do, our look is like being successful or better off than where they were. Than when they came in, or how we seen them or how we was introduced to them. And just being there with them, I guess. It was like, if you don't mind, it was like, we shared a situation, concerns, and when you gave me the call, you know what I'm saying? And it was me, always checking back in on you, like, hey, how was your son doing, man? In that situation, like, is he safe? It's them concerns that we have, because if we miss something, we at least want to come back and be like, well, where else can I be of assistance to you, brother, to help, to make sure, like, is your son okay? And, I guess to end it is he make good plantano, bro. You know what I'm saying? Appreciate you.
So if nobody else wanted to elaborate on that answer as well, I just wanted to offer some services. I have a manufacturing program, and if we can help get people out of their situations that they're in during the healing process, or help them with the healing process, to give them some self confidence and uplift their healing. I would love to be a part of that with y'all, or however we can make it work or make it look. So thank you.
Hi, good evening. As a retired high school principal, I'm just curious as to how young do you get kids involved in this kind of situation?
I think it's 14. We're 14, but we have worked with youth we have worked with youth up to like 10 years old. So, but I think the criteria, don't quote me on it, I think it's 14, 15. Why didn't you speak then, brother?
One big happy family.
Okay, 15, but is the start, and we work with the youth in the city with curriculums in school, or if we catch you in the community, Sherman Park, some of like the high-risk areas, like we like to be in that space with them. A lot of the kids in the city, they're misunderstood, and they're prejudged a lot, and they were normal kids just as we were. Sherman Park's not bad. It's not a bad area. It's just, the kids be at the park, and you have people that's not even from that area will probably come to the park and start stuff with the kids. But outside of that, it's a great park,
I'll speak from the medical side of things, we so at Frederick Hospital, we'll treat from 16 and up, and then they have connection to 4 and 4 Life. We also, there's Project Ujima, which has been in existence for like 20 some years, which they have a huge amount of programming for kids younger. We just started a pediatric T-Qual clinic, which is the trauma quality of life. So same as for adults, but it's for kids at Children's Hospital. They're a level 1 trauma center as well. And so they have that connection with Project Ujima as when they're admitted to the hospital. And we've just built the connection between Ujima and 414 Life and the 2 T-Qual clinics, so we can really cover all the ages at our medical centers.
Okay, stick with me because I don't have a great polished question. All right. So one of the pieces of magic from the movie was that despite the different things that brought you all to the conversation, there was great connection between you all. And I would say it sort of seemed like there were 2 categories. There were people who were directly impacted by gun violence or directly impacted through a family member or somebody close to you. And then there were the folks who were connected to the work. And I suspect that we're all here because we're connected to this topic in maybe one of those 2 categories or something in between. And my question is kind of for those 2 groups. So for those of you who are in this because of the work, is there ever a time where it almost feels like because you can't relate on that personal level, that there's some limit in the value that you can bring to the work? And vice versa, for the people directly impacted, do you see the value for people doing the work who have not been directly impacted?
I think Becca and I feel the same way. I think when we met, we had an instant connection, and I think I feel like that with many of my patients, and it's because it's on a human level, which is what brings us all together. You're right, this connection here was very innate, right? I mean, when we met, we just all connected with each other. But I think that's where it brings everybody together. We're all humans, and that's the connection.
Yeah, I think that's a good question. And actually, I remember asking you that question when I was going for this position that I'm in right now. Having that little bit of hesitation of like, are the patients going to trust me? Will this be successful? And I think what we discussed is that you show that you care, you be consistent, and people will see that you are going to be there for them. And it builds that trusting relationship. But I think the piece that also works is the fact that we have this connection with the 414 Life team. I wouldn't be as successful in my role in getting people to trust me without that team. I can work with them every day if I'm having trouble with connecting with someone, I reach out to them and we may go into the room together just to make sure that we can kind of break through any barriers that we might have. So I think it's a little bit of magic with all of that, but I think trust is built up by being consistent with the patients and following through, and then learning with the 414 Life team as well.
Ever since this injury, she one of my caretakers. She one of my favorites, so every time I go see her, I get happy, you know, because she always make me laugh. She just, all the jokes. It made me feel better coming into the hospital, you know what I'm saying, because I don't like hospitals. I've been in and out of them ever since I was 16, so being shot, you know what I'm saying, in these type of situations where guns are involved, coming to the hospital and getting out the hospital, well, it is a battle, but you know what I'm saying, they be there to help you. And 414 Life too, I'm in deep with them too, you know. They some good, you know what I'm saying, support systems out there. And, you know, therapy through the hospital, it do help because not all things be all good, you know what I'm saying, leaving that hospital, emotionally wise, physical too, but they gonna help you through every step of the way. Medication, I don't like medication, and she helped me, you know what I'm saying, get my stuff together with the medication, because pills, I could just say all kind of stuff right now, but I swear. But my main thing is the way they come for you. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you need them, you file your appointment. They not just there for your appointment. They there for your home. What's going on at home? You know what I'm saying? Like, is you good? Like, going home, you thinking straight? Like, all kind of stuff. I'll be there talking to her. We be in there for hours just talking. But yeah, 414 Life. To answer your question, yeah, I see the help in everything they do. You know what I'm saying? Like, everything the hospital is doing, these programs we got going on, yeah, I like them. You know what I'm saying? They gonna help the community if people let them help. You know what I'm saying? Like, some people can't be led and some people can't be helped, but they here for whoever won't help. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, that's it for me. I'm gonna put that down.
I want to
Ask you a
just
question.
add.
You're good.
Can't even tell if this is on. You know, I think there's also the part where it's a two-way dialogue. We learn just as much from, you know, our patients and our 414 Life colleagues about things we're not doing well on the hospital side. I'm largely a hospital administrator now, and so I bring things to meetings. I bring things to meetings that I'm like, hey guys, this is awful. Like, we are not doing what we should, and it's stuff that, like, for the most part, I don't want to paint a really rosy picture. People don't realize what's going on at a policy level and how it's then being implemented down, you know, at the bedside or in the emergency room or whatever it is. And so I think part of the team that we have built is a bunch of people who approach all of this work with humility, in terms of, like, we are here to try and make the system better in addition to taking care of this patient. And so I guess part of, like, to your point, when you have those feelings of like, oh, I'm not really sure what, like, to a certain extent, I now sit in a position of power and I'm using my power for good instead of evil. And, like, that was what I told them when I applied for the job, and they bought it. So, but yeah, there are those moments. But that's what's so great about these friendships, because we know the value that we're bringing on both sides.
Julia, you have a question?
I want to say one more thing about that. I want to say one more thing to that, to your question, just to add on to it. I remember it was a brother that worked with us, right? And I kind of look at it as, we all know who the X-Man is, right? And he used an analogy like everyone possesses a specific ability. So I feel like we can't coexist at the work that we're doing. Y'all get where I'm going with this, right?
Yep.
With each one of them abilities, like, we all possess something. So with us all being together is stronger. You know, the stronger we get. So, like, that's how we look at it. Like, if I'm struggling in an area from, you know, of trying to, like, reach a patient or something like that, I can always reach out to Colleen, Rebecca, Libby. I can always reach back out, or vice versa. Hey, well, what's going on? But I got chewed out for not making a call at a...
Uh-oh.
That's all.
You made it.
Julia.
So first, I want to acknowledge all of you for the courage to share so profoundly and just so clearly. I think that we've all been impacted by your sharing. There were a number of things that I heard in that second round that struck me: the empathy, the safety, the listening, the trust, and how one actually is able to teach that to another. Because it was said, we don't always know how to talk to one another, but really we don't know how to listen to one another. We just don't know how to listen. I mean, that's not something that we really do well. And so the work in restorative justice has the potential to reverberate outside the immediate circle. So the immediate circle of all of you creating relationship, creating trust, and creating an ability to communicate with one another profoundly is what the possibility is outside of that. And so my question is, how do you share that one-on-one or maybe even in small groups outside of the circle in a way where people can really be impacted, whether it's your family, Uncle Norman at Thanksgiving that nobody wants to talk to, or the naysayers, because there are plenty of people out there that are naysayers and just really don't know and don't understand. How do you go about doing that? Because that, I think, is where the possibility lies in really shifting our community.
I would say being consistent, leading by action. Like your action should tell. Like your action will will tell your work. And what I mean by that is, like I bought into the whole concept of what 414 life is, and it's either you gonna fake with it or you gonna be real. And if I'm trying to sell you something, and you gonna tell like these, I'll just say like in the communities, I'm just using an example, like when we dealing with people that we don't even know and that I think your energy plays a part in it on how you show up. I would say a lot of the situations is situational. Sometimes they don't want to hear you talk. So it's almost like reading the room almost. So like sometimes they just want to tell you everything of what's going on and would thank you in the end. I'm just glad you was able to put up with my, and this and that. And then you will be able to say something. It might only be like 4 or 5 words. But I think like if we continue to us as not just 414 Life, but all the other organizations that does do this work, to continue to lead by example, like I feel that it will transcend, like everyone will find out and know about us or know about the work that we're doing. And I think they will get it, and it's the people who I thought that would never even get behind me or doing the work, like, man, brother, I really supported what you doing, but I don't see how why you doing what you doing. But then you will see me, I will see them like a year later and was like, I'm glad that I met you, man, that you said this stuff to me and you still doing what you doing, because it helped affirm what I'm doing, because we don't hear it as much, So to hear someone give us the positive feedback about the work that we're doing keeps us moving forward. So like, I just think, that's all. I mean, I think we're doing the work.
Let me ask a question of maybe James and Sharquil. So there's certainly been a movement across the country to wed restorative practices with community violence intervention. I think, Reggie, you knew about this work years ago when we were doing the Blueprint for Peace, because restorative justice is one of its goals, right? But your conflict de-escalation tools include mediations and just going in and talking to people. James, you're experienced in some restorative justice. How do you see restorative justice practices being used to a greater degree in resolving community violence so that we can move towards reducing gun violence by use?
I think it has to deal with, it plays a big role, because it can stop a lot of, on the front end, it can stop a lot of things. And I think people need to see more of what it looks like on a prevention level than on being like just like the violence part. And I think like you're able to heal from that. I feel like I'm a testament of it myself. I think like with me being able to see my judge, at 14, like for real, like I feel like it's imperative like that to me to be a young man that was sentenced, at a life sentence at 14 years old, to be able to come home at 40 and be able to talk to my judge and, be connected with people and being able to build, like, I might not say, well, I agree with everything that what was done to me, but which person has the opportunity to be able to do that? or to be able to do that. And then I also have to ask myself the question too. I think we was talking before we came in here. I said I had to understand her situation too. I ain't the only, she probably sentenced thousands of people. So even though I can feel some type of way about one situation and have the disparities about another situation, I just feel like from the restorative part, like helping me even restore myself. Mm-hmm. Then on point of that, like the victims, I don't know the effect that I had on them or if they was really thinking high levels of retaliation, for me to be able to do what I'm doing, So like, I feel like it's real imperative and it can stop a lot of things and it should be something that should be pushed in the community.
I have one more question. I think it's for Lisa and RJ. Is this the first time you've participated in a restorative justice circle? And it was a pretty heavy circle in terms of the topic, right? Yeah. Both of you said to me, and Colleen introduced me to RJ, you and I talked at the hospital for probably over an hour to explain to you the process, and then I talked to Lisa just to get you comfortable with coming in the circle. You both said to me that it was healing and that you would like to continue to do more circles with other people to help them. Can you explain to me why, what resonated with you and how you felt about being in circle?
I take it, Libby. I want to do more because I'm really just now getting help. I'm 25, you know what I'm saying? I got 2 kids, single parent type stuff, you know what I'm saying? So when I was 16, I had only a select few doctors that literally stayed and checked up on me, like after the hospital. And that meant something. So now that I'm getting like extra help and see like, it ain't just me feeling like I'm alone. You know what I'm saying? Like the first time they checked up for about after I was out the hospital, like a month or 2. And I never heard from nobody else again. I was 16 years old. My whole life got stripped away from me. I was an athlete, like a good athlete. I played a lot of sports. Back then I was just in a dark place and I ain't had nobody, like not even my mama. She can't understand the type of pain and despair I was going through at that point in time. I literally had a basement room all to myself, a big room, just refurbished, everything up in there, just all mine. And I felt like I had nothing, like everything I built up on, like basketball, I had a future like ahead of me and it was taken away. So I just feel like when we got somebody to like give us that type of guidance and give us that type of, y'all know the words. I ain't finna sit here and think about it, but it's just a lot. Like we get a lot of people, my stereotype, like I'm by myself, like black people, like especially in my community. I live by some Mexicans or whatever. We the coolest people ever, like. And I took the time on my day to go see. Like, we don't got that nowhere. Like, I can't just go across the street and ask somebody how you doing. They're gonna look at you funny. You know what I'm saying? Like, especially when somebody needs some help. Like, the other day, I seen somebody on the corner, bleeding out, needed some help. Nobody sat there, called the police, nothing. I picked up my phone, just made one call, and they got help. Like, we ain't getting no type of help in these communities from each other. It ain't just gonna be with us, like, you know what I'm saying? Like we after it happened, you know what I'm saying? This is after. We trying to get before and, you know what I'm saying, present, you know what I'm saying? We only gonna help each other, you know what I'm saying? That's all I want to say. But.
Lisa?
I think the prevention is pretty important and catching it very young. As children grow up into teens and teens grow up into young adults, if we don't catch them then it's going to go in circles. I was in one of those circles and over until it took a lot of trauma for me to realize I needed to get out. I lost everything except for my children and our golden retriever. But I'm still here, and I'm alive, and my kids are too. One of the things that I think that we really need to do is learn how to talk with each other instead of at each other, and I'm still practicing that myself. Learning even how to trust the police, even learning how to trust your faith. I had to learn how to trust God again. Sorry. 'Cause I was afraid of that too. And then Tony, brought me back to God. And I learned how to pray. I don't pray the greatest, but I think, I think he hears me. I also had to learn how to trust myself when I didn't know how. I also had to learn how to parent. I have 2 children with special needs. And I've been a single mom for quite a while. Learning respect isn't that hard. It's the human side that we have been distracted from. We've been distracted from the human side. How to love, how to respect. If you don't have respect, you're not going to have compassion. If you don't have compassion, you will not know how to love. And a lot of us have grown up just kind of rolling through life and missing something within. We need to learn how to love and be loved. Not surface, but the depths of it and not the shallows. And I'm practicing that still. So don't give up on yourself. Don't give up on your kids or life.
Oh. All right, one more question, and then you guys will stay up here for a little bit afterwards to answer any questions people have. All right, one more question.
Hello, and thank you for your work. I just got a question for James once again. Hey, growing up in the hood, when there's like a lot of this violence, you try to run from it or not see it. Don't want to be involved with it because it's the violence on the street, it's the reporting on the news. You just, you saturate it. So, you want to get away from it. Get away from it. And my thing is that, even the job you all have is a job I thought of, and then I thought twice that I might not want that job. I won't want to run to what I was trying to run from, And then, and y'all run into it every day. These stories, y'all actually seeing the trauma and the violence and the cuts and the blood. And the lady over here, she asked about how is the doctors, how do they have somebody to talk to and for they can process this stuff. I had a professor who told me one time that every therapist has a therapist, every good therapist has a therapist. So I'm saying this here. So what does 414, I'm just knowing this, provide? Do y'all get a month vacation somewhere, all things paid? I'm just saying, because y'all are constantly running into trauma. How do you stay balanced? What does 414, I ain't gonna say how do you stay balanced, because it shouldn't all be on you all. What does 414 offer? You know what I'm saying? What does 414 offer to keep you sane while you run into the insanity? You know what I'm saying?
Really? How y'all doing? I'm Reggie Moore. I direct the Division of Community Safety, Policy and Engagement at the Comprehensive Injury Center. So it's evolved over time. So we started by doing, basically it was bi-weekly mental health check-ins as a group. When we came to the medical college, we started doing didactics where basically the team learns different both therapeutic and not necessarily clinical, but just methods of self-care. in healing, but we definitely take that seriously. And when we look around the country, we see, and there was actually research done that was published around the amount of violence that violence interrupters see. And regardless of what side of the gun somebody may have been on in their past, when you're on this side of the work, it can be triggering, and we're asking people who came out of hell to go back in it to bring more people out. And so I wholeheartedly agree with you, and that's something that we take seriously in terms of their care and well-being. We also do 2 retreats a year where we go to Racine. For those of you who are familiar with Wing Spread, it's a very nice place. And it really is about, again, building camaraderie and community as a team. But that's critically important. And, I just want to also add, when we started Forum for Life, when we went around the country and looked at similar programs, especially in Chicago, many of the programs were seasonal, it was part-time, they didn't have benefits. When we launched this program at the city, our commitment was that they would be full-time, and then coming to the medical college, they have all of the same benefits that the professors and the medical team has. So they're seen as professional.
All right, I might send my resume now.
All right.
I was gonna answer it like that, brother, but I ain't know the verb.
I want to thank everyone for coming tonight. They'll be up here to answer a few more questions. If you have any, please, for those who are registered tomorrow, please join us. We start at 8:30. Registration's at 8. We have a really full day tomorrow, which includes Reggie's going to join us, Terry DeRune-Cassini from the Medical College, along with Colleen and Libby. And then we have other panels, including panels with James again and 4-1 for Life, Credible Messengers, Project Ujima, and Promise Keepers. And then at the end, we have 2 young adults who have been trained in circle keeping. And they're going to be on a panel with 2 men from Racine Correctional who participate in the restorative justice circles that we do at Racine on a semester-wide basis. So we're packed tomorrow. Please come and enjoy the rest of our conference. Thank you.